Hello there, and thank you so much for joining my presentation. I am Patrick Langley, and today we'll be talking about the sweetie and the fibrous, understanding sugar. And I'm currently a student at the University of New England in the Applied Nutrition program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good. Good to hear. So I just wanted to start my presentation by saying thank you so much for being willing to attend. I know it took time and effort and scheduling and what have you to be able to get here. So I appreciate you being willing to come and view my presentation. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let's see. So on today's agenda, we will actually be going through added sugar. We'll be talking about dietary fiber, blood sugar, and also processed foods. So it's kind of be all tied in together in a way. And I think it'll be great and beneficial to you. And I hope you enjoy. And just to continue, wanted to say you rock where you are right now, in making decisions for being healthier and what have you. I'm sure that's one of the reasons, partly why you decided to come today. So I appreciate your willingness to do that. And I hope it's of benefit to you and you get something out of it. So just as a small little discussion, I just wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite foods, and you can just speak them.
I like any type of fruit, dairy type things, Asian type food.
Okay.
I love soul food, macaroni and cheese, fried chicken.
Yes.
I love sushi. I'm
Mhm.
kind of eclectic. I like a little bit of everything.
So you like lots of different foods,
Yeah.
lots of variety.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Variety's not bad. What would you say would be one of your healthiest foods, or let me rephrase that, favorite food, sorry. What would be your favorite food if you had to choose one?
Or health. That's a healthy one.
Not necessarily.
Just overall.
Yes.
I would have to say probably dumplings. I love steamed dumplings with pork and
Dumplings?
vegetables in it. Yeah.
Yes. That sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
Well, just as to follow with this, healthy additions, like healthy ways that you can make a dumpling healthier, of course, would be to add vegetables, maybe to, I don't know, make maybe a ginger sauce that would add some extra fiber to your dumplings
Yeah.
when you eat them.
Yeah.
Just-
Sugar right.
Yeah. So we'll continue. So what do you think added sugar is, or what is added sugar? Very simply put, sugar added to food, or as I said, simple sugar, simply put. So it's basically adding simple sugar to food after processing it, or even doing it yourself in how you cook different foods. Those would both be considered added sugar. So, any questions about added sugar?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
All right. So why would we want to eat less added sugar? One of the reasons would be for our health. There are many different benefits that would come from the willingness of someone to eat less sugar. It would also help our body. It would help with lowering body fat, overall weight status, and I put relationship, it kind of goes hand in hand with happiness, because being healthy, health and body and relationship and happiness and vibrancy and thriving, like they all kind of go together. So you start at the top and go down, and these are just some of the benefits of considering less added sugar in the diet.
Great.
No problem. Um, so how could you eat less added sugar? And I put this in here. This is just with fiber, but we'll talk more about fiber in a few. um, so fiber would be a replacement alternative to added sugar. So that's the purpose of saying this is if you added more fiber in your diet, it would help with satiation and other concerns that may arise from eating a lot of added sugar in the diet.
So basically replacing, instead of eating like a cupcake, maybe put more of these type of foods in your main meal.
Yes.
And that way it'll help you to, since they have fiber, it'll help you to maybe make better choices about what you eat and feel
Yes.
faster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So how else could you eat less added sugar? So most of the time added sugar, unless you add it to the food yourself, is found in different processed foods. And they have a lot of props, but we'll talk about those also in a few. So most of the time in processing or manufacturing of different foods that we like to eat or shelf foods, companies tend to add a lot of added sugar to foods to make them taste better, so they're more appealing for you. Sugar itself is quite addictive in a way, because you usually want more when you eat it, or not having it, you still want it. So that's one of the other ways that you could benefit or replace added sugar in the diet is to decrease processed foods. And we'll actually talk a little bit more about those right now.
Okay.
So in regards to processed foods, these are actually quite a few examples, and I'm gonna pick up some of them just to show. These are actually all processed foods except for these dates. This would probably be the only item up here that wouldn't be considered processed. These peanut butter pretzels, they actually would be considered quite processed because of flour and peanut butter. And then there's K or Kellogg's Special K protein bars. Those are pretty good, and they do have some fiber in them, but they would still be considered processed. Yes. Let's see. So I have this buckwheat flour, and although it's technically a whole grain, it's also processed. So processing can be minimal, and it can happen even with cooking. So you could actually be considered processing your food by cooking it too much, because processing assumes that you're taking it from its whole intended form, like from the tree or what have you, and processing it down to a simpler form. So even though this is whole grain buckwheat flour, it's considered processed because it's ground. So it's from the seed and then it's ground down. So that's even a form of processing.
So everything's processed at a certain level.
Yes, unless it's a whole produce food or a whole like chicken or fruit and vegetables that haven't, I guess, really even been cooked or frozen, they would actually not be considered processed. So most of the time, processed foods will be found in like the butcher or produce section of grocery stores. That's most of the time where you find your least processed foods. Any questions about processed foods?
Most of them I know are chocolate sugars and stuff, and so it's easier. It's definitely good to like eat less processed sugar, but the problem I find is that the food is everywhere, and
Yes.
it's actually more expensive to eat more natural
it's hard not to find some foods that are processed.
Yeah, so trying to
see.
eat a whole, non-processed type of diet is really hard.
Gotcha. I understand. So some alternatives that we've talked about to processed foods already would be fruits, vegetables, nuts, and I wrote more fiber here, but this could be like legumes or beans, whole grains, just some items that I didn't mention here. These could also all be considered not processed, and they don't have as much added sugar, especially in their whole form.
Yeah,
Yes.
things like couscous and, what is that little
Quinoa.
quinoa, yeah, those.
Yes. Quinoa would be because it's a whole seed, but couscous is actually a form of pasta.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm. So we're going to start on our conversation about fiber. So the question would be, what is fiber? Fiber is either a form of carbohydrate that is not digestible by humans. So these are most commonly found in plant foods. There are two different types of fiber. They include insoluble and soluble fiber, but we're not going to go any farther than that.
Okay.
Just for the purpose of the discussion, I'm not really going to specify the difference between those. Those are just the two types of fiber. And sometimes on the packaging of food, you'll find them mention, like they'll mention soluble fiber, insoluble fiber. It's more so in something that they were able to measure, like if they added it themselves. So like in a processed food, they might say soluble or insoluble fiber.
Oatmeal?
Yes. Oatmeal would probably have some of both.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've noticed that they use, oatmeal has been found to have fillers and stuff.
Yes. Sometimes it does.
Okay.
So we're actually going to watch a short little video on fiber, and I have to just open it real quick. And I'm going to put it on the full screen. And we're going to watch the video.
At some point, as we've evolved as a society, nutritionally, a lot of what was normal fiber in our body has been eliminated just with processing of food. In that circumstance, we can probably think that most people do not get enough fiber. The average American diet probably provides somewhere between 18 and 25 grams of fiber. The average American male should be getting somewhere between 40 and 50 grams of fiber a day. The average American female somewhere between 25 and 35 grams a day of fiber. That's usually not achieved with our typical American diet. While supplements are not ideal, they are a very good way to more easily provide fiber that we're not getting. These provide some benefit in the sense of more easily getting fiber without a lot of the additional calories that a lot of people associate with fiber. The best way still to get fiber is to achieve it naturally by better intake of fruits and vegetables and those foods that have fiber within them. What fiber does, by adding bulk to the stool, allows the colon, which is designed to pass weight through its system, to work